Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching The Object of the Game. For Coach Chuck Kyle, I'm Maureen Kyle. And if you've tuned in before, you know that our focus here is how sports is really just another level of education. Whether you're playing yourself, whether your child is playing, you have grandkids who are playing. His philosophy has always been that the field is a classroom. But today we are really going to focus on academics. Not just playing as an education, but the education that can come from playing. The opportunities that you can find when you play a sport and how that gets your foot in the door to some of the most amazing academic institutions, especially here in the state of Ohio. I know we have viewers who are outside of Ohio, but you probably have some of these schools that we're talking about, and some of these Division III situations or other divisions that are still great at athletics, but then also have this amazing opportunity for a degree that will serve you many, many years past your athletic prime. So, Dad, I want to talk first and foremost, you on so many levels. First of all, you went to John Carroll, right. Division III. That was a couple years ago, but things are a little different now. But did you, like playing back then and then looking at college as an opportunity, what was it like? You were a football player, and you went to Xavier for a year. A lot of people don't know that, but then up to John Carroll, back up to John Carroll. Was that the mentality? Were you thinking, like, hey, I want to get a good education, and I want to keep playing football? Or what was the mentality there?
Well, I think for anybody, there's that step of going to college. And yes, you have to, at that point, start more, probably earlier, junior and senior in high school, start thinking about, well, what would I really like to do as a career and so on like that. So that's in your mind. But what is important, and you mentioned the word opportunity, is there should be a scenario at what college you go to that would fit that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times maybe you get there and you suddenly get involved with something and go, I never realized maybe this is the better opportunity. That's what college is. That's like the first 2 years of college is really kind of experimenting a little bit. But my point being made is I think there's a lot of confusion out there with parents and students that well, it has to be a bigger university to fulfill what I want. The state of Ohio, and you introduced that a little, has an amazing group of great small colleges. Amazing. Greater Cleveland area. Amazing. When you Case Western, we have Greg here today, and John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, and they're wonderful educations. And the point being made is, hey, I still want to play football. Why? Because I disciplined my life. I would go to practice, I'd eat, I go home, back to my dorm, I study, I'm locked in, I'm not messing up my day, and I'm still having that camaraderie and that learning experience of football. It's there. And so many parents don't understand that those colleges, they have financial aid, as you will hear for Case Western and John, all of them. And the point is, let them, give them your financial aid information, and they make it possible to get it. I cringe when I hear parents go, well, he's got to get a full ride. Let the college figure it out. But be open to looking at these other scenarios, smaller college, in all honesty, probably smaller classroom experience, more involvement with the professors. And the idea that what it can go on and do for you is amazing. Is amazing. And people have to look at that. I hope we're getting that done today.
Yeah, I mean, inside the Kyle household when I was growing up, I just remember you talking about, like, gosh, this college called, they're interested in this kid. I think it's going to be a great fit for him, that, you know, he's going to get this amazing degree. And I remember you having to convince a few kids here and there of, like, this is the best path for you. Right. And I think that's interesting. We're going to have Greg Debeljak on, the head coach of Case Western Reserve, and you guys have spent years at those recruiting nights. But that's really, I mean, I guess I'm lucky that I have seen that throughout the years with what you've spoken about, but for parents out there who are thinking, oh, well, I mean, I would need my kid to play for Ohio State. I need my kid to go play for Michigan. Like, this might not be the only option.
Right. That's the important thing. They have to, I just beg people to listen to what we're doing today, because there's so many opportunities that, yes, the coach at a small college, hey, he hands a list into admissions going, yeah, I'd love to have this kid, these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps you get into the school, okay? And then, okay, their tuition is this, whatever. Well, if you're accepted at the school, now, hello, finance department, you got to make it seem this family can get this done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's their job to do that. And people just, they don't let that happen. Yeah. And it's a shame. It's a shame.
There's so many, I mean, I know personally a lot of former D3 players that, went on to great things within the sport. I know a lot that have gone on to great things in the business world. I mean, it's really about getting your foot in the door. And I'm excited to hear what Greg has to say and talk about his experience and how he coaches, and just a nice guy. You're going to love it. But really, I'm hoping that parents out there who are parenting kids through the high school level, this is what you need to hear and what you need to be considering. But before we take the break, I want to thank our sponsor. This is Infinity of Beechwood and Akron. Thank you so much for sponsoring the object of the game. Have you tried any of the Infinity vehicles? If you haven't, I want you to head out there to either Beechwood or Akron. Dominate your daily drive with the completely reimagined, entirely redesigned Infinity QX80, a beautiful vehicle. The 2025 QX80 has earned the IIHS top safety pick for its structural integrity and advanced safety technology. Luxury, capability, and expert guidance await at Infinity of Beechwood and Infinity of Akron. This is luxury redefined. 2 Ignatius grads own that dealership, those dealerships. Smart guys out there. They got the good education.
Well,
We're going to be talking a lot about education throughout this next hour. Thank you so much for being with us. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back to the object of the game. Thanks so much for watching. We are going to be talking a lot of local football today, and maybe you have followed his career. We are joined today by Greg Debeljak, Case Western Reserve head coach of football. And Greg, I was just asking right before we started this segment here, when exactly you guys first crossed paths, because you played for Mentor. You grew up and went to Mentor High School.
Cardinal.
So I was kind of thinking that maybe you had crossed paths back in the high school years, but
never. I
barely.
was talking to Coach.
We were just talking about that.
Might have been a scrimmage.
Yeah, I think scrimmage.
Yeah.
But I do remember and you were not head coach at my junior year. It got down to back then, only like 24 teams made the playoffs in the whole state.
In the whole state.
So there were 2 teams from each region that made the playoffs.
Right.
And we needed either Ignatius or Eds to lose to get in, and it happened. I don't remember which one.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But then after that, it face-to-face was probably when I was a young coach at John Carroll and recruiting St. Ignatius players.
Yeah.
So I see him, because we do the local college recruiting night at Ignatius. We take over the gym. So I see him 2 times a year at least, because we do one in the fall, right after the season. Okay, so December. And then we do one, right towards the end of the year, in May, first week of May. So at least 2 times a year, I get to check in with Greg and see how things are going. Yeah. But that's for them. I mean, we're probably going to get into this, I'm sure. Those things are college recruiting nights. They're important.
Yeah.
I mean, these are where the Division III schools. If he had to run around to every high school in just Greater Cleveland, drive around to meet with the coach, that would take you 2 weeks.
Well, back when I was young, that's what we did.
Well, what you did,
I mean,
sure.
That's what we did. We'd go from high school to high school, and at John Carroll days, every high school had somebody for you. Case, not so much.
Right.
We have to be super selective, and that we're kind of spinning our wheels. We have to kind of find out where the smart kids are that can get in, and then go visit those guys. So that was a big transition from
so
Carroll to Case.
for them to come to the recruiting night, you get these are the grades.
Yeah.
Got by that time, you probably have a test score. Okay. Couple of checks with that kid. Now we can go from there, and come visit in the summer, things like that. That's how he spends his time. So
I think we have a ton to talk about. I mean, just in all of your experience, there's so many things that I think would be helpful for anybody listening, whether it's a high school kid who's just graduated, somebody thinking about where do I go when I go to, where do I choose to look if I'm a sophomore or junior, but just everything that Division III is going through.
Right.
But before we even get into that, of course, we always like to talk about our guest's background in sports, because what this really is about the education that playing sports can give you. And I was so impressed to see, and I didn't know this when I have heard all about you, but I didn't realize you played 2 sports in college at John Carroll.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of rare nowadays to have anybody play 2 different sports.
4 years at John Carroll, and I don't remember anybody doing that. I really don't.
I think the big name locally, Fred DeSanto, played 3 sports.
Yes,
at Case.
Right.
And now he's just coming off a 4-year tenure of being, leading the school as the board of trustees chair.
Right.
So. But yeah, I couldn't imagine not doing it because I love both sports. And actually, my first year, I went to the University of Akron. Mm-hmm. My brother was at Case, and as a young guy, when my parents were talking about tuition and this and that, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll try a state school first, and it just wasn't the right fit.
Right.
And I wanted to go to John Carroll, come out of high school, so that's where I transferred to, and gave me an opportunity to play both football and basketball.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was.
So then, how did you? Back then, they're like, yeah, sure, make both teams. Like, how did that work?
That was basically it. I mean, there's no scholarship involved, so everybody's kind of a walk-on. Mm-hmm. Both the football and basketball coaches remembered me from high school and welcomed me on both teams. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it worked out great. Tony DiCarlo was the head football coach, a legend, and Tim Babb was my basketball coach.
Tim.
Still friends with Tim to this day. So
that's great.
Yeah, I had a great experience playing both.
Yeah.
Now, kids need to talk to him how he handled that.
That was
with
what I was wondering.
Here you are, the college low, but that's Division III. Really, athletics is. No, you're taking a full load of classes, kid. You're not backing off. And talk about time management. Mm-hmm. Division III athletes learn time management.
Yeah, and I think you start learning it in high school.
Right.
It's
still
it's a chore in high school.
Right.
To I think the practices are longer at high school.
Yeah, right.
And by the time you get home, and that's a big part of being an athlete at any level is managing your time and getting everything done. Yeah. I don't remember the academics being a big issue. What I remember is the toll on my body it took.
Oh, yeah.
By the time I was like a junior, senior, that took a toll.
Yeah,
I don't know how people go.
I didn't make it through just playing football there. I'm still, clicking with my shoulder, so I didn't handle that too well at all, but that's the way life is.
So then how did you choose? I mean, if you loved basketball, you love football, how did you choose which one to go into coaching-wise?
That's kind of an interesting story, and I don't want to say it was decided for me, but I was looking to become a graduate assistant and get my master's, and the plan was to go out and teach and coach in high school. So the GA that was open was football. I think if the basketball GA was open, I think I would have gone basketball. So and then once I made that decision, kind of fell in love with coaching football, found out how much I didn't know about the sport.
Right. Oh,
very early in that, and fell in love. And I did my student teaching and was ready to go, and married at that time too, and just decided boy, I really love college football, so we're gonna give that a try first, and then two schools in 37 years.
I mean, in all honesty, if kids are interested in, hey, I want to become a teacher, coach, and do that sort of thing, what opportunity popped for you?
Yeah,
really framed up your coaching, right? I mean, I ended up being a track coach because John Wirtz was walking up the stairs by the Sullivan Gym, And just that day, the track coach resigned, and he looked at me and went, you want to be track coach? I hadn't even taught a class yet there, and all of a sudden I'm the head track coach, right? And I did that for 48, 49 years. There's opportunities, and that's sort of, it guides your way through. And what I'm hoping we're going to get to too about him is he's been very, very successful. I mean, honest, at Case Western Reserve, and I'm going to embarrass him, but I mean, he's the best. Their best coach they ever had. I mean, success and coach of the year and all sorts of awards and everything like that. But he stays at Case Western Reserve, and he stays at Division III. And come on, the world of coaching nowadays, he could be applying to a lot of, or making phone calls, but there's a calling that he has, and that's something that I appreciate about him very much so.
Yeah,
very much
you've
so.
talked about that a lot. I want to talk about the coaching years. When we come back, we're going to have more with Greg about how he's been successful with coaching and what has teed up that success and some of the stories that he's had along the way. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching The Object of the Game. Our guest today, Greg Debeljak, the head coach of Case Western Reserve's football program. And we were just talking about getting into coaching and how you found that opportunity through the graduate assistant program. But what was it like? I always wonder, that's a lot of leadership responsibility when it's coaching somebody who's basically your age, a year younger, 2 years younger. That has to be, and both of you have gone through this.
Yes.
But I think that this is a good leadership lesson for anybody out there, because as I talk to people who are in management roles in business, people will always say, it's so hard to manage people. And I feel like coaching a team and coaching your peers basically at that point has to bring up some really good life lessons.
I was basically coaching some players that I played with, that I was teammates with the year before, and now I'm coaching them. Right. So thank goodness I had some really good mentors, and Tony DiCarlo, Regis Scaife, was at Carroll at that time, and they sort of say, Debs, you gotta set boundaries. You're their coach now. You can be their friend. You can't be their buddy. Thank goodness I was married by that time, and so I did not have a desire to go out with them. So there had to be that separation.
Right.
But you also had that rapport.
Yes.
That the players like younger coaches, and in my own staff, I always make sure I have a few younger coaches, because they can they're kind of that go-between between the older coaches and the players.
Right. The position coach, especially, it's good they're young, because the energy's there for those guys. They'd like to still be playing, right? They've got a lot of energy. As the head coach, you have to keep your eye on them. Hey, these drills make sense. That drill does not make sense. Okay, we're not doing that one, all right? Where'd you come up with that? No, you know, things like that. But that sort of maturity, and I also think in just knowing him, there's that point where, he wasn't that much older, but he earned their respect. And when I don't care what age it is, when the player goes, this guy's, he's doing his homework, preparing for the game, I can listen to him. He's going to lead us the right way. That's the key. I've always thought the key thing. Yeah. I don't care what age that was. This guy did his homework, and we're getting ready for this game, and he's there. He's got us ready. Yeah. I don't care what age that is. That's important.
Do you feel like, is that what garnered the respect, was the preparation and the homework? What do you think?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It is. They saw me working hard. They saw me watching. One of the kids said, every time I go by your office, you're watching film. It's like, I don't know any other way to do it than that.
You gotta know.
And it was very early. It was not something that I got into for the it's not a Division I. There's not 80,000 people at the game.
No.
It's for love of the game and love of the camaraderie and being around a team. That was the reason. I think that came through, even at a young age.
Yeah. And the important as the step here is, it obviously he bought into the idea when you say Division III, that's saying these guys go to college to earn a degree. They have a dream for their future. They're not sitting there going, I'm hoping the NFL is going to call me.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe you'll help run the NFL team coming out of Case Western, okay? But the kid already kind of realizes that.
Yeah.
And he's here to get a degree. In Case, just please look at all the degrees they offer. It's unbelievable in postgraduate. Well, I'm going to get off the track. Her husband went to, got his
Case law school.
Case
Yeah,
law
he's
school.
a case law grad. Yep.
At some point, I had to get that in.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Now he's going to have to watch this. We're
Now,
gonna have to,
now for sure.
Maybe now he'll
But
tune in.
yeah, the things at Case, it's just an amazing school.
Yes.
And here, those kids are, but they love playing football.
They do.
You know,
Yeah, they're
and
academics.
you're bringing, hey, we have the degree for you, kid.
Yeah.
But there's a time management thing that coming out of that school has to be amazing. Has to be amazing.
I feel like this is something that you've talked about for years too, is that he would help kids decide, like, hey, you still love to play, but it's going to be the foot in the door. Like, you could probably use football to get a foot in the door at some place like Case, or at some place like John Carroll, where it is like you're going to walk out with a great degree.
Right.
So when you're coaching kids in Division III, is it evident that they are there to learn but still love to play? Or do you get, kids who are like...
I think there's varying degrees.
Yeah.
I think at Case, everyone is there for the degree,
Right.
and everybody is there because they are very academically oriented.
Right.
Because of our really stringent admissions policies.
Right.
I mean, these kids are really focused on what they want to do. Other places, I think it is more of a development that they really don't know what they want to do yet. They know they want to play football some more. They know they want to go to a good school, and hopefully when I get there, this place will help me figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All that being said, though, you've had big name players come through both John Carroll and Case, but you saw something in Josh McDaniels, right? Like, how did you spot him and
He wasn't hard to spot.
Yeah.
He was, with his dad Tom.
Yeah.
right? I
And,
mean,
you know,
I remember
it's-
when he was playing in high school,
Coming
but
from a
like,
coaching background, you just you knew the kid was just brilliant football wise, and I think he had to bite his tongue a little bit, like maybe how he was being coached might have not been. He might not have agreed with it. He just sort of, but he was a good kid, so he went along with it.
Yeah.
But he was great. The players, London Fletcher, I was on the staff there, and London went on to play 16 years in the NFL.
In the NFL.
Yeah.
Just incredible. After 1 year of playing football, he was a basketball player.
Right. Yes.
wow.
I want to
Right.
say St. Joe's, but
I
I guess
think
I'll
so.
say Villa
I mean,
Angela
some-
St. Joe's.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was VASJ at the time,
Yeah.
but to me, it's always been St. Joe's.
Yeah. It's
And
hard
then
to
we
lose
talked
that.
about Tom Arth a little
Yep.
bit before we came on, and Tom was a Division III quarterback that was 3 years with the
Right.
Colts, and
Yeah.
going on with the NFL connections. David Ziegler was a GM. Chris Polian, David Caldwell, Tom Telesco.
Right.
Those were all kids from Carroll that went on and became GMs
Right.
in
Yeah.
the NFL.
It's incredible.
And you can tell academically, they graduated, were prepared for their future, but football is still involved with them, and it's that level. We've had guests. Then there's a business end of it, and if you want to get involved in business, there's a lot of different businesses out there, and one of them certainly is the NFL. But kids have to have the ability to be that type of businessman, but plus all, you got to know the game.
Yeah.
Got to know the game and got to love the game because the amount of time you spend working at it.
I want to talk about how you made that decision to switch from John Carroll to Case, the success that you've had almost immediately at Case, and what led to all of that. I feel like we got a lot to get to, including like Division III now versus Division III when even 10 years ago. Like, a lot has changed, and I think it's information that parents will need to know. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching The Object of the Game. We are back with Greg Debeljak, Case Western Reserve head football coach. And during this quick break, we kind of got into just the state of D3 football. And I kind of want to jump right into that, because if you're watching, maybe you have a kid who's playing high school football, you're wondering, where are they going to end up? Where should they be looking? This is kind of like between the two of you, this is your wheelhouse right here,
Sure.
like getting kids where they belong for the best chance at their future. And the portal, the way football is now in college has changed dramatically.
Right.
Why don't you guys just pick up kind of where we were even talking in the break, but
Right.
just what you've
Well,
seen change over the past
just
couple
to-
years.
Segue to him. Okay, our association has a recruiting night in the December and then one in May.
Yeah.
And Division III, mostly it's Division III. Some Division II show up, things like that. And we're just trying to get them information because their admissions people need to get the information early. He needs to get, well, what kids would fit in the academic situation, and I totally agree, you know, and so he can kind of go, I guess, talk to admissions sometimes, going, hey, these are the guys we're talking to quite a bit, and that's a wonderful plus that parents have to realize, you know, that it's nice to have, hey, you know, can you imagine Case Western Reserve's admissions? They have to be piled up to the ceiling. People trying to get into
Yeah.
Case Western Reserve.
Yeah.
Okay, and I could picture the admissions department going, "Give me a reason, one guy or another." Right? They're all good students, right? And okay, well, here's some guys that we've talked to. They've come to visit. You know, we've established a relationship, and I've been telling parents for 150 years, you know, that's really what is important. You know, the Ohio States are going to find the kid. They'll find him. I don't care where, the high school, they're going to find that kid. But situations like this, the kid wants to continue playing football, but what's he want to get into? And here's a Case Western here. Please, folks, go online and take a look at the degrees you can get. And there's where, well, let's get this started, you know. And that's what he has to do as the coach, to talk to these and talk to the parents too. Because what I'm finding in all this is how parents don't understand this. They really don't.
And you used the word very early in that talk about fit. And
Right.
that is, I think, the perfect word to use, because we're looking for the right fit for our
Right.
university and program. And the family should be looking for the right fit for their future.
Right.
And the fit, football is part of that fit. Academics is part of it. Financial is also a big part of that fit. Does it fit financially for the resources our family has? And socially.
Right.
You know, because these are young, developing kids, and they're going to live 4 years on this campus. And will they develop
And
socially?
what I find out is parents really don't get a lot of that, especially the financial thing. I mean, there are parents think, well, if he's not going to Ohio State, we can't afford it. Case Western Reserve, okay, I wrote this down because that is, you can receive 100% of the demonstrated need at Case Western Reserve. I don't know if every college can say that, to be honest.
Not everyone can.
I mean, financially, there's some they don't have the history that Case Western has.
And that is, I think, when I first started, many schools did. Or the gap between what you could pay and what the school was giving you was much smaller. So that's changed quite a bit, and that's why you see colleges struggling to survive.
Yes, right.
But yes, we are very fortunate that, yes, we will meet 100% of demonstrated need.
Hello,
And that-
parents.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
they,
is-
they
No,
don't
they-
know that.
Incredible.
I mean,
They might not agree what the demonstrated need
Oh,
is.
well. Well,
Those are
Okay.
tough conversations to have.
I can imagine.
But
that's,
yeah, it's you know, and our, you know, you talked about, you know, sports making you stand out a little bit to colleges.
Right.
We definitely want to admit athletes. We
Right.
admit athletes at a higher rate than non-athletes,
Right.
because they bring something else to the table.
Sure.
We will not admit athletes if they cannot do the job.
Right.
We're not going to take
It's a waste of time.
But
They won't be able to stay.
Right.
They won't
Exactly,
stay.
and then
Might
it
as well not
doesn't-
even bother.
doesn't help anybody.
Doesn't help anybody.
So speaking of, kind of in that vein, and we talked about this off air a little bit, the portal. That has been a lot of talk among anybody who has a kid in any sort of college sports situation. How has that affected Case over the past couple of years? Do you find kids are looking to jump in the portal, or are they pretty content staying where they are because they want that academic background.
I think our roster, they're very content staying because, again, football is a big part of their experience, but it's not the only part.
Right.
So they recognize the degree they're getting and the time they've already put in. We lose very few kids to transfers. This is during my 20 years there.
Right.
Very few. I think some of it's because we recruit the right way,
Right.
and we find that kid that fits right.
Right.
But these kids are coming here for another reason.
Yeah.
They might decide not to play anymore.
Right.
They don't leave the school.
Right.
Portal, we have seen people take a look at us coming in, but it's been the graduate students that come in and get a master's in finance, or we had one kid go to law school.
Oh, wow.
And play football for us for a year. So that's what we're seeing at Case.
That's an interesting thing
Yeah.
too. I mean, there's so much involved here that a kid, he's technically done with his undergraduate, but still has a year eligibility or something like that, and he's going to graduate school at Case Western Reserve. Your husband went to law school. Okay,
Yeah, he did not play football.
Did he play football? He was a basketball.
But
player.
But that's interesting. I actually have never. That's never been brought up, and we've talked
Right.
about the portal a couple of times on here. That's a benefit actually
yes.
for a school like Case, that you're getting like a couple extra players
Right.
in this situation. That's amazing.
couple extra a year, and it was more prevalent during the pandemic because everybody had that extra year.
Right.
They had the pandemic waiver where
Right.
anybody that was on a roster fall of 2020 had an extra year of eligibility.
Right.
Our basketball team went from below average to top 20 in the country. They got 5 a year for 4 years. They got 5 grad transfers a year.
Wow.
So that I saw it's not like it is a Division I where it's just
Right.
craziness
Oh,
and
it's
everyone's
the
going
Wild West
shifting
there. I mean, it's
schools,
just
but
nuts,
we are seeing it a little bit at Case, and again, it has to be the right fit.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have maybe a little more options at Case because of all of our graduate
Oh, they have
programs.
Yeah.
so many.
Now, you had success pretty much immediately when you took over the program, but is that consistency of having the players be committed and there for all 4 years, is that a key to part of the success too, that you don't have this revolving door?
I think retention is a big part of it, both with the players, and I've been blessed to retain my coaching
Right.
staff.
Yeah, it's-
Very few
yes.
guys. I've been there as a head coach 21 years.
Right.
I've only had to run 5 or 6 full-time coaching searches. So
wow.
my offensive coordinator's been there for 21
Right.
years. My DC's been there 11.
Yep.
So I think that
Right.
that consistency that the kids know
Right.
who and how they're going to be coached has helped quite a
Right.
bit. And the kids that I get to coach, they're so smart. They've got things together,
Right.
way more than I had things together. So they're a joy to coach. They really are.
Okay, Ignatius, it was a college prep school. I mean, all the kids were going to go to college.
Yeah.
And what he just said there, I always gave credit to the idea of you could ask more of them, more complexity, because you go, they get it.
Yeah.
We don't have to line up and just go off tackle and think. There's more, and they enjoy that.
Yeah, they
know?
certainly grasp concepts
Right.
and can pick things up very quickly.
Right.
But to get good at something, you have to rep it.
Right.
Of
There's,
course. But
just
yeah,
muscle memory alone. You have to rep.
Correct.
But up here too, and I always thought too. Halftime, you only have 20 minutes, and obviously there's times when that didn't work in the first half. Oh my! All right, here we go, and you only have a few minutes with your assistants going. Okay. We're having a problem with this. Let's adjust this. That's wonderful to talk about, but now you have about 10 minutes or so. All right, you turn to those kids. A, they got to believe you, but B, they got to handle it.
Yeah.
And I always looked at it, and I think we're sharing the same idea. It's nice to sit there and look, and these guys can handle this adjustment. Yeah. They can handle it.
Yeah.
They can picture it.
Yeah.
And that wins a lot of football games.
Yeah.
It does.
It wins a lot of games.
I love a good war story. I love a good battle or football story. So I'm going to give you a break here to think of one. But we do a segment sometimes where it's tell me just if somebody asked you right now on the spot, what's the one game or what's the something you would remember for the rest of your life? We're gonna pick Greg's brain about what that would be, because that's what sports is also about: the anticipation, the emotion, the excitement, the success. So we will be right back after this break. Welcome back. Our guest today, Greg Debeljak, the head coach of Case Western Reserve football team. But Greg, you've been at John Carroll and Case, between those two schools your entire career. I really want to hear like a great story. There's probably a million games you can probably think of, but if somebody was to ask you, I always like to think of like if you're sitting there, in a rocking chair one day going, kids, listen to this. This is this story I'll never forget. Like, what is that story?
So, yeah, the one that jumps out, 2017, we are 9-0 undefeated coming in. And the way the Division III playoffs were, it's mainly conference champions that make the playoffs, and a few at-large bids. So we pretty much had to go 10-0 to make the playoffs. Right. We went 9-1, we weren't coming. So we're playing Carnegie Mellon at Mellon, our big rivals, and we're getting down, and there's about 5 minutes left to go in the game, and we're up, and like we get the ball and we get a couple first downs, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable. And then we fumble, they get it, cash in. Okay, now we're down. Get it back. We turn it over on 4th down. They get it. It's just not quite at a point where they can kneel down, but it's almost at that point. Yeah. So they start kneeling, and we're doing the math, and I'm like, that's not. It's like 4 or 5 seconds off.
Right.
So during the timeout, one of our corners who was close to their sideline heard their coaches talking that, hey, don't take a knee, stand, waste a few seconds, then kneel down. Mm-hmm. So on his own, this is a corner, he came off the edge, and the guy took a swipe at the ball. Oh. And he missed it, and the quarterback knelt, but one of their tackles thought he took a cheap shot at the quarterback. He came after our guy.
Oh, my God.
A lot of things where 15-yard penalty, the clock stops.
Oh, yes.
So now we have a chance.
Right.
Now, very little chance, and we're going to try and block the punt.
Right.
If we don't block the punt, we're done.
Done.
We block the punt.
Oh, my gosh.
And return the ball ricochets off our guy's hand, goes 30 yards backwards. And one of my smallest kid on my team, our receivers on the punt block team, scoops it up at the 5 and goes in.
Oh, my God.
So now there's like 30 seconds go. It's like, we got this game. I have a freshman kicker. Oh, I tell the kicker, okay, you just hit it as hard and as low as you can. Mm-hmm. Just hard. Do not kick it deep. As hard, as low as you can.
Let it bounce around and cause a problem.
He kicks an onside kick.
Oh
my gosh.
And the part when we score, the kids went nuts, went on the field. We had a 15-yard penalty. So we're kicking from the 20. They recover on the 37. We're in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Oh, gosh.
We stop them. They kick a field goal to go to overtime. Long story, we win in overtime. Mm-hmm. I had people who were at the game text me on the bus ride home saying, I can't believe you won. I left.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, we had lost, we had won. Then we lost again or tied, and then it was crazy. And for everything that was on the line, it just unforgettable.
Oh my God!
Last
well, there's a story for you. I don't know if we had anybody beat that one. That's pretty good. Right.
We've talked a lot about how smart these kids obviously are to get into Case, and but something else we talk about a lot are the life lessons that these sports will teach any kid. No matter what level, no matter what age. Do any of the players ever come back and say, wow, I really this really meant something to me, and thank goodness for that game against Carnegie Mellon, or oh gosh, I keep thinking about this game and how I learned anything? Or
I think for them it's more the camaraderie that helps get them through a very challenging academic situation. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're an engineering major or a pre-med major, boy, your escape is your 2 hours on our football field. Yeah. And how much that meant to them, and the friendships that they've garnered through those tough times. Yeah. So we hear a lot about that, and also when they interview, how much being an athlete sets them apart from everybody else.
Have we heard that one before
Yeah.
from people? Just
Because
saying
they
that helped them in job interviews and so on like that.
They know how to manage their
Education.
time. They can lead. That's the big thing. That the jobs they're competing against non-athletes, it's not even close. Like what these kids bring to the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those also, I know he said it before too about like the battles, those games like Carnegie Mellon are the ones that the kids talk about the most later on. Like, do you find that they come back and go, "Oh my gosh, remember when we were down," or "Remember when we had to really battle back"? Like, do you hear them, or are those even the ones that you remember the most?
I think the kids tell me they can't. Like I can remember. You watch so much film,
Right.
so you remember individual plays
Sure.
and
Yeah.
who made them.
Right.
The stuff I hear from the kids is the stuff that happened on the field that never made it back
Right.
to the sidelines.
Oh, really?
Things that were talked about.
Oh, no way.
It's just like, that happened? I go, when did that happen? Oh, coach, that happened. Like, you didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't want to tell you. Like, so they talk about that a lot. And yeah, the kids we've been to the national playoffs 5 times. So those groups definitely talk about their playoff experience and getting there. The ones that didn't, they talk, coach, we just, we delayed this a couple of weeks because our team goes on a foreign trip, and that we went on our 4th foreign trip. They talk about like traveling to Europe with the team and the memories that created for them.
They've just come back from Rome, playing football in
Yeah.
Rome.
We
an
were talking about it
experience.
before, but
Yeah,
like
before
talk about that experience
Yeah,
for these kids. You were saying some of them are like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go." Or
Well, that's in it. So it all when I was at John Carroll in 1994, Tony DiCarlo willed us to Berlin, Germany, to play against a foreign team, and had 3 experiences like that at Carroll, and wanted to bring that to Case because the kids. It was such a great experience, and the Case kids just didn't understand why that was such a great experience.
Yeah.
It was, Coach, I'm starting my internship.
Sure.
I
I
can't
can imagine.
miss that. And,
The internships are right there, and
I'm
they're
doing
we got to do that.
research and
Yeah.
So I
Right.
basically changed the format where we leave like the day after finals, we go, and we're back in 9 days. So that was like, okay, begrudgingly they did it, and then they went on the trip, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable experience. And when the kids that didn't go or the recruits that came after that found out about it, it just kind of snowballed where this last time I had 80 people on the roster for the spring, 73 went on the trip, and I allow family members to go. We had a total travel party of 190.
that's just
right. And
that's an incredible experience.
And kids picture them an experience like that. Hey, there's a big world out there.
Yeah.
That's what they walk away from those things going. Yes, you've been in Case Western, and your high school, and then Case, and look at the world. Look what's going on. And football helps you get an experience like that.
And I thought it was so
wonderful.
interesting. You were telling me that you play club teams over there, where it's not college versus college.
No, they don't have college teams. It's club football. And it could be anybody from 18 years old to 40 years old. They just love American football, want to play it. They have an American coach, a couple American players that they pay. And they're very passionate about the game and just really don't know what they're doing yet. So
I just couldn't imagine being 40 and walk onto the field to a whole bunch of like
Young college
18, 19-year-old college kids that play at a high level.
Those clubs had fun.
Right?
I think they've had fun more after the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of the scenario I think that happens there.
I'm just thinking of
for them.
the injury potential.
It wasn't this trip, but the previous trip, one of the team members owned a bar. And said, "Hey guys, come to my bar after the game." So the guys
fellas, now let's be a little careful here.
That sounds like a club experience.
Yes, there you go.
Greg, you know that he has been an English teacher most of his entire career. Yes. So our last segment, we do a vocab word, we do a Shakespeare quote. So we get sort of the English lesson in at the end here. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the quote, we're going to wrap up with a special vocabulary word, as we usually do here on The Object of the Game. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Object of the Game. We are with Greg Debeljak, the head coach of Case Western Reserve football team. We have been talking about academics, athletics this whole entire time. Now is the time where we really get academic. Like, I don't think I'm going to ask producer Pat over here. Does anybody else have English lessons on their shows here on Big Play? No, just
Not
us.
quoting
Just
Shakespeare?
nobody else is quoting Shakespeare,
Gosh,
which is
Pat.
one of the reasons why I always wanted Coach Kyle here to include a Shakespeare quote, because this is not typically what you get on any sports shows. But he always finds a way to, we talk about how sports are educational.
They
You
are.
learn life lessons.
Life.
We usually start with vocab word, then we'll go into the
Yes,
quote. Did you
he's
send
ready
Greg?
for the vocab.
Okay,
He told
all
me
right.
he's all ready to roll.
Yeah, so
Okay. Well,
Go ahead.
again, I send out, I call them themes
Mm-hmm.
that English teachers or whatever, right, that you'd see in literature. And do they apply to life? Yes. Do they apply to sports? Football? Yeah. And a kid may learn a lot about that theme through playing our game, right? And he remembers it, and 10 years later, 20 years later, he goes, Coach, thanks for doing that, because that really was affecting my life. And you're going, I don't remember talking about that theme, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Greg, I sent you the list. What do you got for me?
What's two words stood out? Reliability. And my defensive coordinator addresses the defense all the time. The best ability that you can bring to this team is reliability. Can I count on you?
All right, there you are.
Not to do things over and over and over again, consistently correct.
Right.
Okay, you might be able to do this incredible thing once, but can you do it over and over and over again? So I think reliability is a lesson learned in football. Can I trust you
Right.
to be reliable?
Yeah.
And then perseverance was the other word that really stuck out. Is how are you going to react when things don't go that well? Because it's going to happen.
Right.
We're not going to win every game. How are you going to react to that? And are you going to persevere through the tough times? I think those are two things that football teaches,
Oh, it does.
especially the perseverance.
Right. That's life. There's a game that helped those young men experience that. Come on, reliability. You're being hired because they trust you. You're reliable. That is important, right? And there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. You can't help that. That's being human. You step forward and work your way through it. And that's what perseverance gives you, that energy to work right through it. And that's football. That's sports, too. All sorts. So that's good choices. I mean, we've had some really interesting
I know. It's been
ideas
great.
that come from just vocabulary words. But, if you're coaching, you use those words.
Yeah.
You end up using them.
Yeah.
And so,
Anybody leading any team.
yeah.
Or anybody, especially, I mean, this is graduation season. I've talked about it the last couple episodes as kids are graduating and they're going, okay, what is my employer looking for in me? What's my job here? Not just, typing things out or filing this paper or whatever it is, but it's these aspects that you learn by playing games and learning that you don't always win. You got to bounce back from it. So, yeah. All right. Do we have a quote?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we do. This one is we had others from Henry V, but being a coach and being a leader, that's important one. Henry V, we're leading men into battle and challenges and so on. Okay. But this is actually right the second scene of the first act, and it's actually by the Bishop of Canterbury convincing Henry V that, yes, you have all the right in the world to attack France, and God will be on your side, and he's doing all that. Okay.
Yeah.
But the way he words it is kind of important. So may 1,000 actions, once afoot, end in one purpose, and be all well born without defeat. All right, now the English teacher has to kind of explain that one, but if you stop and think what he's saying there, when you're the head coach, I think we can share this to you. You're not a position coach, you're the head coach. So may 1,000 actions, you're constantly worried about the defense, the offense, the special teams, the timeouts. There's so much that go on in a football game. And the head coach, to be honest with you, has to be on top of a lot to do that. And, you take a deep breath and you go, can I handle that part of it? It was so much easier just being the receiver coach or the quarterback coach, and that was all your thing. But there's this bigger responsibility. Mm-hmm. And the point being made is, in a football game, there is 1,000 actions that take place. And you can't necessarily handle all of them, but you do your best. But the point being made is, in the end, there is one purpose. You're trying to win the game. All those actions that are going on, there's one reason. You're trying to win the game. And there's nothing wrong with trying to win. I mean, we're on this earth to win, all right? We're supposed to succeed. We're supposed to do it right. And the point being made, and all will be well born without defeat. In other words, we do all these things. We're that prepared. And all these actions, if they go the right way, we earned it. We earned, and so we won't be defeated. So all those seasons when he was undefeated, it just didn't. Hey, fellas, go ahead, go out on the field and have fun. Well, have fun, but he spent, 2 a.m. His eyes are like this, going, how are we going to stop that? How are we going to work with that? Oh my gosh, and they've got this guy, and they got,
Yeah.
It's just the way the game is, and the responsibility you get. Good job, you're the head coach. Okay, thank you. There's a lot going on. So that quote kind of handled, I thought, being a head coach and being all what you go through, and how do you handle in practice when a kid turns and goes, Coach Debs, I got to go to lab.
Yeah, that took a little getting used to.
Yes.
Because when we first came from Carroll, we tried to run it like we did at Carroll, and it did not work.
Right.
And we had to change.
Yeah.
Because these kids, we had to adapt to them.
Right.
And
can you
what
imagine
they were
that?
Going through.
I should have mentioned that one earlier, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys out there that are doctors that are whatever, and I got to go. Yeah. I got to go, and okay, how are we going to prepare that kid now?
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah. Before we let you go, too, like I said, and I just mentioned, it's graduation season, but is there any advice that you would give to any student athlete, maybe at that high school level, that is trying to figure out, like, where am I going? What do I do over the next year or two to prepare for that college experience? Like, any advice for that kid or parents who are trying to figure out what the next step is?
Yeah, I think the key is you have to find the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, you have to research. You have to. You can research it online, but most importantly, you have to get your feet on the ground, get to campuses, and find out what is your best fit. Do you want to be in a rural school? Is that a positive, a negative? You don't know until you go.
Right.
So I think researching it, be prepared. For football, the big thing the two things that I look, your transcript and your film. That's
right.
all I need.
Right.
That's all
right.
I need to evaluate you as a recruit. So have that prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Have a PDF. Send it out. Email it. But don't wait.
Right.
Gosh, I remember my experience. I waited till after my senior year of basketball
Mm-hmm.
to look. Oh, what a mistake.
Yeah.
And things were different back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be active. It's your experience. Don't count on your coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and do the research and get out and see places, see what you like, see what you don't like,
Yeah.
and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think also we've learned, too, for anyone, obviously we have a majority Northeast Ohio audience here, but the quality of schools that we have right here in our backyard,
Oh yeah.
just incredible.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, first of all, the state of Ohio, Division III, small,
Yeah.
amazing colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Really, excellent academic, good football, obviously, and just things. But that's the one thing. But again, the idea of not all seniors in high school know this is what I'm going to do with my life. Okay, they don't, and that's why curriculum freshman year, sophomore year, well, you're going to sample, but then when the light bulb goes on, the school has to have that ability for you, has to supply the chance. I mean, your curriculum
Yeah.
certainly provides
Right.
so much for the kid to, wow, I think I want to get into, right? And once that kid has that enthusiasm, like I really enjoy that, it's amazing how his grades improve.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
They love football, so their grades will be good in football, but find the subject
Right.
that you have that kind of enthusiasm for, and good things happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, Greg, it has been so wonderful to talk with you, and thanks so much for taking the time to be with us
Yes, we
here in
appreciate it.
studio. I heard a lot about you, so it was great to meet you in person and hear all those experiences.
I appreciate being here. I certainly miss you in the morning.
Oh, thanks.
Coach, as a young
loving the
GA
sleep.
at John Carroll, never imagined I'd be doing a podcast.
Well,
Yeah.
that's all right. There you go.
Yeah.
Not the biggest moment.
Right,
that he's
right.
going to. That's on the rank number one.
Right. This is more
big
for fun.
achievement.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be on our podcast.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for watching the object of the game here on Big Play. Remember, you can catch all of our episodes on the Big Play Network. You can find us on YouTube. This streams every week on X, all of the social media channels. Make sure you check out the clips that we post on Instagram. And we are live on The Rock every Monday at 4 p.m. That's where you can see us.